Hello, I'm Tony Craig. This is F1 Grandstand, and this is your daily Formula One news reports. All about other Formula One teams want to introduce limitations to Ferrari to prevent their turbo advantage. Red Bull catches fire with Yuki at the wheel in his first F1 outing and a demo in San Francisco. And yes, we've got the footage. McLaren do extra FIA tests on super clipping and energy harvesting. We've got the outcome of that. Concerns coming out about Isack Hadjar over at Red Bull and Ferrari's big bonus. So we've got a lot to get into. So, of course, if you are a Formula One fan, you are in the right place. Do smash a like on the video if you enjoy it. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And when you do, make sure you got the bell all icon ticked. That way you can control which piece of the content you engage with. So, yeah, how you all doing? Have you had a good weekend? Had a good Sunday? I hope you've all had a lovely time. Yeah, Sunday night. A little bit more chilled, a little bit more relaxed, but we do have some things to get into. So I can see Sulo's in there, Dawley's in there, Peter's in there, Gazette's in there, Drop Tunes in there, Tipsy Jack, great handle. Welcome, Tipsy Jack. Mario's in there, Carly's in there. Yeah, everyone's in. Good, love it. So yeah, main story. This is actually quite unbelievable, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Ferrari's FIA turbo sanctions. Where's this coming from? So Formula One teams now want the FIA to introduce limitations on Ferrari to prevent their turbo advantage. Now, if you didn't see some of the footage from Bahrain, well, let me show you something just to let you know what it is they're talking about. So, first of all, let me just explain. All the teams are struggling with getting their turbos up to speed, the spooling. Ferrari knew this was going to happen, okay? Fred Vasseur mentioned this a year ago. He brought it to all the manufacturers and said, hey, you know, the getting rid of the MGUH, well, those exhaust gases really meant that the turbo was permanently spooled up, right? Brilliant. Well, now we're getting rid of that. You do realise that we're going to have a problem with turbo spooling. All the other teams are like, no, Fred, you don't know what you're talking about. It's fine. Fred's like, no, I do know what I'm talking about. Okay. So Fred then goes and engineers a new solution with that in mind. We saw the problem. And now their turbo spools up quicker than everybody else's. And if you want proof of it, take a look at one of my favourite moments from the Bahrain test. This was the practice start. Look at this.
Sounds good. And he even had to sort of back out of it a little bit because the cars in front of him were going so slowly. But yeah, wow. a sweet start there. So
that's Lewis Hamilton. That was his practice start. Got away for the line super well. Was it P9 to P1 by the first corner? So yeah, Ferrari do have their turbo technology working very, very well. But what's happened? This is the thing. So this is the report that's come out. A report suggested that Ferrari's F1 rivals now want the FIA to prevent the advantage that the Scuderia are gaining from their smaller turbo following their rocket-like practice starts in pre-season testing. Now, we all know, if you're a Ferrari fan right now, if you're in the Tifosi or, you know, whatever, you know, Ferrari, I think everyone's hopes are quite high for them from what they've seen so far. You know, and Fred Vasseur under more pressure than anyone going into this season. We reported it here. Fred looked like he only had maybe 6 races to save his job. I think John Elkann would have removed him from his position last year if he wasn't responsible for this 26 car. But it's looking good. Fred looks like he's turned things around so far. I know it's early days, but things look good. Anyway, David Croft, Sky One presenter, pundit, said the SF26 looks like a rocket. You know, all these positive comments. Anyway, But here's the thing where it gets interesting. So Ferrari's F1 rivals want the FIA to limit the advantage they're getting from developing a smaller turbo. According to a recent report from La Gazzetta dello Sport, Ferrari's rival engine manufacturers would like the FIA to introduce limitations or modifications to the Italian outfit's 2026 unit in order to keep the playing field fair. Now, this comes in the midst of Ferrari's and the rest of the grid's battle. This is where it gets important. Ferrari's and the rest of the grid's battle against Mercedes over a dispute regarding the Mercedes compression ratio, their engine compression ratio. Now, Ferrari were one of the first teams, along with Red Bull, to sound the alarm about Mercedes potentially getting away with this compression ratio trick, and one of the teams spearheading the insistence on how they measure that compression ratio test. Looks like they've won that as well, where they will be introducing a new way of measuring the compression ratio test from ambient temperatures to hot temperatures by August this year. So this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. So Mercedes, George Russell, he was the first driver to theorize on Ferrari's impressive practice starts. And we think that because George was making a lot of noise about Ferrari's impressive starts, that we think it's Mercedes who are leading a charge against them in the commission meetings. Now, obviously, Ferrari disagree. There's no action that should be taken against them, largely due to the fact that no regulations have been twisted to cater for the small turbo unit. Also, it was Ferrari Fred Vasseur that told the entire grid these new regulations. He told you about this problem that was going to happen, and only Ferrari considered to produce a solution for it. Yeah, and there's some, but there's also, here's the other side of the argument. Ferrari are getting better starts and their turbo spools up quicker, but there are some concerns that there may be a potential performance deficit, from top speeds by having a smaller turbo. But anyway, they also feel that if you can gain 8 places off the start, well, that's more of an advantage than any disadvantage from having a smaller turbo. So that's Ferrari's position. Ferrari's position is quite simple. Look, we've done nothing wrong. We told you that this was going to be an issue a year ago. Fred mentioned it. You all shut us down. And now you want to somehow, because you've seen our impressive starts in Bahrain, and you can see that our turbo spools up about 4 seconds quicker than all the other teams. I think also as well, Ferrari were putting in, they had the fastest lap times, but definitely other teams were sandbagging. We don't know the full extent of Mercedes engine, really. We think they had it turned down. And the other rumour is that it was only Mercedes were running a different iteration of the Mercedes power unit compared to McLaren, Alpine and Williams. Ooh, I know. But apparently they were. They'll all be running the same engine after homologation on the 1st of March, but apparently Mercedes were running a different iteration of their engine. So this is what I think's happening. This sounds like tit for tat. I don't know what you think, but this sounds like tit for tat. I mean, I wanted to say, when I spoke to Toto Wolff earlier on today, I said to him, look, Toto, look, mate, bringing these complaints to the FIA, I mean, are you having a laugh?
Having a laugh. Generally, we have laughs, and that's good. We've always maintained the laughing, even when it was not so much to laugh about.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's having a laugh. I think what this comes down to is they're trying their hand. Like, people are seeing how good that Ferrari's looking. And I think what you've got now is, I don't think anything's going to happen. There's no way that their turbo is going to be illegal. There's just no way. But do I think this is Mercedes just stirring the pot because they're angry at Ferrari and Fred and all the other power unit manufacturers for interfering with their power unit, and the fact that this hot temperature test is going to be brought in and all the scrutiny that's been on their engine. I think this is just Toto Wolff rolling the dice. That is my guess. It's just Formula One being Formula One is what I'd say. Typical fun and games. But I can see the super chat. Thank you very much for your super chat, Josette. Of course, it's Mercedes, because they also see that Lewis has got his belief and mojo back. I love that. I'm coming to that in a minute, actually. I'm coming to that. We're going to be talking a little bit about Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton a little bit later in this show, because and something that Stefano Domenicali has been saying. But yeah, I think Toto, he's gonna play silly games now with every power unit manufacturer. Any opportunity to sort of try and make things difficult for anybody else's development, I think he's gonna do it. That's what I think is gonna happen. So yeah, that's that's the situation with that. But another big story we got next. Okay, so. Yuki on fire! Red Bull catches fire in dramatic Yuki Tsunoda F1 return. And you know what is funny? So this really is Yuki's first sort of outing as the Red Bull reserve driver going out on show. He goes to San Francisco this weekend because Red Bull were doing a demo. Okay. And the Red Bull catches on fire, and we've got the video footage. Things didn't go to plan. Yuki is all right. Don't worry, Yuki fans. He survived. But I think you might like to see the footage. So this is Yuki on fire, video 1.
Lighting up the streets of San Francisco. Looks like Yuki making its way down to Yuki in the RB7.
And as a reminder, folks, that as soon as this finale is done, we will open the middle of Marina Beach. But it's not over yet. Let's keep watching and continuing to celebrate this is fun and motorsport.
Now, that's from one angle. I'm going to show you burning from another angle. Like, it is actually pretty dangerous. Yuki's fine. But what he was doing, I needed to show you that video first because you can see what he was doing. He was doing a burnout. He was doing donuts in front of the crowd. Doing donuts in front of the crowd. Okay, well, this is video 2. Here's the thing, it took him I think it took him too long to get there. You can see how much the flames are like. The flames, that thing went up, and it went up quickly. I actually think it took him too long to get to his aid. I mean, poor Yuki. He's literally first time out as reserve driver. Because the reason why they're in San Francisco, Red Bull there, because obviously now we've got, Cadillac on the grid, and there's a big growing Formula One community coming out from the United States. Red Bull are like, hey, we'll have a piece of that American pie. We'll do some promo there. We'll drive around the streets of San Fran. We'll get our reserve driver, Yuki Tsunoda, obviously seasoned Formula One driver to do it. And it sets on fire. And it's all over the internet. Hey, all in. Hey, Peter. Hey, Hooked on Classic. I see you all in there. Get your super chats in. Guaranteed to be read out live on air. But yeah, Yuki Tsunoda. Probably, I mean, is it his fault? I mean, how much fuel was in that car? I can't imagine they'd filled it up that much. I don't know. I don't actually know what happened. All I know is that Formula One bosses hate drivers doing burnouts and donuts. They can't stand it. They hate it. Drivers do it anyway. But that's what happens. I'm going to go to the chat. Oh, yeah. Carly says only 2 weeks. Can't wait to see what happens. Oh, yeah. It's coming up. It's coming up. 2 weeks. We will be at Melbourne. Yes, it's getting very exciting. Gazetta says, poor Yuki, bad karma. I mean, Yuki's still got a chance of appearing this season. Liam Lawson, Arvid Lindblad. Arvid Lindblad actually was looking quite good in the racing balls. He was, arguably, he was faster than Liam Lawson on the day 6 of the Bahrain test. But you'd expect him to be. That's the day where, there's more rubber on the track. It's more like a traditional Bahrain, sort of representative of a Bahrain race. You expect the tire to come down. So he was a little bit quicker than Liam Lawson. But I don't know. I think Arvid Lindblad looks like he's going to be okay. But coming back to Yuki, there is a chance that as Yuki's reserve driver at Red Bull, he's actually the reserve driver for both teams. He could, if anything happened in Red Bull, Hadjar, or whatever, Yuki's the guy that gets in the seat. It won't be for a while. You got to give people a chance. I think gone is the Horner era. Now we're in the McKees era. I don't think McKees is as ruthless as Horner, where he after 2 races like Liam Lawson got in the Red Bull, that they'd get rid of Hadjar. But we do have a Hadjar story. We'll be coming to that. Some concerns about Isack Hadjar, but we're coming to that a little bit later. Next, secret McLaren FIA tests on energy harvesting, and this happened on day 3 of Bahrain test 2, which is effectively day 6 of the Bahrain test, and it gives us an opportunity just to clear up anything. I just got distracted because I saw a drop tune said Honda, the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, that was a Honda engine in that Red Bull. You're absolutely right. They won't be pleased. They're supposed to be supporting that, by the way, the testing previous car program. But yeah, so McLaren doing some tests on super clipping on day 3 in the Bahrain of the second Bahrain test. Okay. So let me just bring it up to speed. So this was all about Andrea Stella and other team principals. They have all been saying the similar things about lift and coast versus I can't even speak. Versus clipping. The Sunday night show. My brain is always so frazzled. Okay. So, this is what they're talking about. So, lift and coast. When you're going down the straight and you take your foot off the accelerator, whilst you're lifting and coasting, you are harvesting 350 kilowatts of energy. That's what you're harvesting. Now, and if you are doing what they call a super clip, you are only harvesting 250 kilowatts of energy. Superclip is where you keep your foot on the gas, allow the battery to run out, like 0 battery, and then what happens is the ICE starts recharging or harvesting energy from the ICE. So what happens is your car does gradually slow down, but you're not actually taking your foot off the gas. That's a superclip. Lift and coast is where you've got battery in available, and what happens is you decide to harvest more battery and you take your foot off the accelerator and you recover more battery by taking your foot off the accelerator. Now, Andrea Stella thinks that this could create unsafe situation, and they wanted to test harvesting the same amount of energy from a lift and coast and a super clipping. So if you keep your foot down the gas and you've got no battery left, you will still harvest energy for 350 kilowatts. Anyway, so McLaren went out to test this. And this is what Stella pointed out. He said, because we're in Bahrain, it's not necessarily representative of other tracks. Bahrain does not necessarily expose the need to lift and coast because it's a harvest-rich circuit. You can harvest in braking. You don't need to do these special maneuvers that can surprise the car that follows you, and that's the important part. It's all about surprising the car behind you. They worry that it could create unsafe situations. So The motorsport governing body agreed to teams testing super clipping at 350 kilowatts, which McLaren did on the final day of running. Now, Stella endorsed a change to the rules, adding, "We tested the possibility of increasing the super clip to 350 kilowatts. There are all the conditions to make this a 350 kilowatt harvest while the driver is at full throttle, which means the driver doesn't have to lift and coast to gain the 350 kilowatt harvest. We discussed this with the FIA and the F1 Commission. It will ultimately be up to the FIA to decide whether they introduce it or not, but we successfully tested it and we are happy." So that's what McLaren want. I'm not 100% convinced that just being able to harvest energy with a super clip to 350 kilowatt as an alternative to taking your foot off the gas and lifting and coasting or through braking, harvesting the same energy, whether it really is going to make too much of a difference. I mean, I don't know. They seem to think it might do on certain tracks. What do you think? Let me get to the chat, because I'm not convinced either way. Hey, if you just joined us, just found us, you're in the right place. This is F1 Grandstand. Do subscribe to the channel, smash a like on the video, say hello in the chat. If you're watching for the first time, we have the best F1 community. Get in there, say hello, tell us where you are watching from. Carl Lee says, "When you think Senna was there just doing as fast as he could, but now they've got to do so much more. They've got so much more to think about it." Well, actually, Carl, we're talking about Senna. Senna was in the original turbo era of the original turbo era of Formula One. And what Senna perfected was he used to go around the corners and he would blip the throttle, like literally blip the throttle in order to keep the turbo spooled up. Like the things they had to do in the cockpit. And don't forget, they're also got, it's a gear stick, right? And they've got a clutch. Like the stuff that Senna was doing in the cockpit when you watch his onboard, it is unbelievable the amount of work those drivers were doing. And in the turbo era, there was a technique of blipping the throttle through the corner to keep that turbo spooled up. It was remarkable way of driving. And obviously, like I say, you're changing with actual gears and you have 3 pedals. You got an actual clutch. Yeah, there were crazy times in Formula One. Oh, and 0 safety features. If you had an accident, you're not walking away. Quite often they didn't. It was a very dangerous time in Formula One. Yeah, but now we're happy to say we do have those safety features. And what we want really is, as the fan, is it's not about making it less safe. We want to make it less sort of dull, boring, don't we? We want exciting. We want the drivers to be wheel to wheel. We want them to have enough power to overtake. We don't really want the drive. Well, and we want to see how fast in Formula One. That surely the goal is how fast is humanly possible to get round the circuit. Like that's the goal in Formula One. Surely, like obviously safety is there, but the goal in Formula One should always be the same thing. How fast can we get this car around the circuit? And everyone else tried to get their car around the circuit as fast as they can and race. And now we don't want teams to be light years ahead of others in development. So that's why we have a set of regulations to try and kind of keep people within the same ballpark, but allow for innovation. The problem we've got now is we've got other motor series, haven't we? We've got Formula E, and Formula E, if you're into that sort of thing, is good. Is the best at what they do, which is building race cars without engines, with batteries and motors. They're brilliant at it. And it's a different type of racing. Battery management's a huge part of what they do. And the cars are going to be quick, I believe. I don't watch it. But if that's your thing, I get it. We've got that. And even in Formula One, like maybe, look, if you want to have an in-between series, like I still think, let's say Formula One morphed into the hybrid series, right? And it's going to be that forever. We've got the hybrids. I would still say there is room for a new series of racing, which I think should be Formula One, but let's say it's not Formula One, which is exactly that, which is pure sort of get rid of all the driver aids, right? You know, sustainable fuels, V8 or V10. You know, would people go and watch it? They go. I think they would. I think they would. Would manufacturers get involved? I think new manufacturers would get involved. I do. I actually think that if there was something if there was just a series that just did that, yeah, I think they would. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't watch IndyCar, but someone can probably tell me, are there batteries in IndyCar? I'm not sure there are. I don't know. You'll have to tell me. But that is how I see a Grand Prix. Like, if you're the pinnacle of the motorsport, the actual headline of that, the goal is how fast can we get this guy around the track? So when we start having to make our drivers, we restrict our drivers on how fast they can go and we take that control away from them. Well, you're also limiting the competition between how good the drivers are, right? If you built cars, I said this before, if you built cars that are too fast for the circuit, right? Well, then it's harder to drive. But you could argue every car's too fast for the circuit because that's why we have corners. You can't go flat out around every corner. Right? That's the point. So if you build a car which can do, in theory, 500 miles an hour and you've got to get around Monaco, well, yeah, that's a challenge for a driver. That's going to be really, really hard to do. So you got to find the balance of how fast, but it should be the engineers finding the balance of how fast they can make the car and still make it drivable for the driver. And the goal is how fast you can get around the circuit. Like, that is the principles of Formula One for me. So yeah, I would get rid of anything that sort of is slowing the cars down without the driver, without that being the driver's choice, right? Having to harvest battery, things like that. It's just, I don't think it's the way. I've said it a million times, but that's what I think. That's what I think. So yeah, but McLaren, that's the secret test they did. Will they adopt it? We will find out. Right, concerns for Isack Hadjar. So Joel Palmer has been saying he's slightly concerned about Isack Hadjar at Red Bull after testing. What is this all about? And if you are watching for the first time, welcome to F1 Grandstand. Do smash a like on the video if you're watching right now. Do get in the chat, say hello, let us know where you watch from. Honestly, best community ever. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do so and make sure you've got the bell all icon ticked so you can keep up to date with all of our content. And if you do want to get your super chats in, they're guaranteed to be read out on air. So Joel Palmer, slightly concerned about Isack Hadjar at Red Bull after the F1 test. There's concerns, but these concerns have been here ever since Hadjar got the nod that he was going to be the number 2 driver in the Red Bull, because everyone is worried about the curse of that number 2 seat. But in the Bahrain test, I think what they're basically talking about is that Verstappen, he completed 401 laps across the 6 days, which is decent. But Hadjar's time was a little bit limited. He only managed to complete, I think, 265 laps. He only got 66 laps on his final day. And I think people are saying, well, if Hadjar, well, what Jolin's saying is, well, because Hadjar is not completing as many laps as Max, well, Max is really going to lead the development of that Red Bull. Well, newsflash, Max is always going to lead the development of that Red Bull. He's a 4-time world champion. Isack Hadjar is in his 2nd season. He's only just, he's still a learner driver, right? He's done 1 season. I'm sure Hadjar's going to have some valid feedback, but when you got Max Verstappen, and don't forget they're sharing the same car, right? In testing, you don't take 2 cars. You got 1 car and you change drivers. That's what happens. So yeah, it's not like, I don't know. I think that's what happens, actually. That's what happened in Barcelona. Is that what happened in Bahrain, or is everyone in their own car? Everyone's in their own car in Bahrain. That was Barcelona. Brain freeze. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. While you're developing a car at Red Bull, and you've got Isack Hadjar and Max Verstappen, regardless how many laps anyone's completing, Oh, yeah, it is only one. No, I'm talking bollocks. Of course it's only one car. They're sharing the car. I was right first time. Because they're sharing the car, Max got all the laps, and Hadjar obviously only got 66. Anyway, let me go back to my actual point. Sorry, it's been a long weekend of doing work. Oh, let me have a sip of my drink. Sorry, my brain's falling apart. Isack Hadjar. Right. So if you're developing a car at Red Bull, you're always going to listen to Max Verstappen, and you're going to take his steer over Isack Hadjar. He's a 4-time world champion. Hadjar's a learner driver. That makes sense. So I don't think there's any alarm bells there just yet. Hadjar wasn't showing the pace of Max Verstappen, but he wasn't sort of acres bound. He was like, 5/10, something like that. So I'm not worried about him too much. And I actually feel that with Hadjar, his driving style, even if Max did really lead the development of that Red Bull, Hadjar's driving style is not too dissimilar from Max Verstappen. So I really don't think there's anything to worry about yet. I think we just have to see what happens in Melbourne. I think he's done enough laps. 266 laps is still quite a bit. He's had quite a bit of running. Hadjar is a very brave young man as well. He's not a scaredy cat driver, is he? He's uber confident, and I don't think there's anything to worry about Jolan. But he's raising the alarm bells. But no, I actually feel like of all of the number 2 drivers I've seen at Red Bull over the last few years, I actually think that Hadjar might be the perfect fit. We'll see in Melbourne, just if he is within a tenth or two of Max, and if he is, then that's all we can hope for Hadjar. That would be good news. But this I thought was interesting. It's Hadjar in an interview on Friday. He says he feels more comfortable at Red Bull than he did at Racing Bulls. And wait to hear why. He says, I'm going to be honest. He said, last year, it felt like my family team. The atmosphere was amazing, but you go to Red Bull and you feel like it's more serious. The working approach is slightly different. As a guy like me who really enjoys the hard work, I felt a bit more comfortable here at Red Bull. I'm very, very happy working with these guys who are very committed to winning. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very lucky. I mean, you got to be careful what you say when you've just come out of Racing Bulls. One, you might end up back there. That's the first thing. Liam Lawson did. And the second thing is, you're making us believe as the fans going, what, are Racing Bulls not that bothered about winning? Not as serious? What, are they all having a laugh and a joke? They're all just having a good time, having a beer, in between sessions. I mean, I should imagine if I'm Liam Lawson or Alan Permain, I might be a bit pissed off with that, to be honest, with those comments. But it does shed a little bit of light on the two different teams from Hadjar's point of view. Oh, Josette with your super chat, thank you so much. Proves that at this level, it's the driver's mentality that separates the good from the great. Isack needs to toughen up. Isack, yeah, well, do you know what, Josette? I agree with you on that. Mentality is everything. Now, it's really funny because we talk about teammates, and we're going to talk about a little bit about Hamilton and Leclerc in a minute. It's the most unusual situation on the grid being Max Verstappen's number 2, I think, because you're kind of admitting if you're going to take that seat, that you're never going to be world champion while Max is there. Because there is a common belief through all the F1 drivers is Max, whether they like him the most or not is irrelevant, but that he's the fastest. He's the quickest driver on the grid. They all believe it. To an extent. They all believe they can beat him, but they all know he's the quickest, if that makes sense. Because as a Formula 1 driver, you've got to believe that you can beat him. But sometimes you think the way you're going to beat Max is by having a slight advantage by having a better car, right? Lando Norris last year. I don't think Lando Norris believes he's probably as good a driver as Max, but he knows he can beat him with the right car. But then you've got Isack Hadjar, who probably thinks, you know, with the right car, I could beat Max. You're in the same car as Max, right? And I think that's Hadjar's thinking, okay, well, the challenge is so fierce. You sort of have to accept that he's not going to win the World Drivers' Championship. Now, I hope he proves me wrong, because I do think this about Hadjar. I think Hadjar, one, I think he's a really good driver. I think he's shown a lot of pace. I think his mentality is good. You got to remember, Hadjar, round 1, Melbourne, he put the car off the track in the formation lap. Like, that's super embarrassing. Like, that is super embarrassing. Yet he came back with a good season, didn't he? Rookie of the Year in Formula One terms for me. And if anyone's like got it in him to sort of keep Max honest at that level as a rookie, as a newish driver. Well, he's still a new driver, still a learner driver, but as a teammate for Max, I think Hadjar's a good one. And Hadjar's got one big benefit that all of these drivers recently at Red Bull is a disadvantage, and that is everyone else had Christian Horner and Christian as a team principal, and Horner was very, very quick to remove somebody from that seat. And also Horner was very open about the fact that it's all about Max. Max gets what he wants. Max gets all of the upgrades, and yeah, your car might not have them. And I think we've got Lauren McKees now, who, well, McKees is a little bit, I feel that he is, as much as he's obviously a big Max fan, he knows how important he is, I feel that McKees is going to give Hadjar an equal car, and that's all you can hope for. And I think that's what, and I think McKees has got the team geared up to do that, to make sure he gets an equal car. So that puts Isack in a better position than, say, Lawson or Yuki or Perez at times even. You know, it is what it is. But that's what I think. You know, obviously Gasly and Albon and everyone else that had to suffer under as being in that number 2 seat. But yeah, that's what I think. And Giuseppe, I just saw your chat there, and you're absolutely right. Giuseppe is nailing it every time tonight with the super chats. The greats all have a killer instinct. That is so true. If you look at every Formula One champion, every great, Michael Schumacher, ruthless, he ensured he won championships by taking other cars out of the race, if that's what was necessary. You could argue it's bad sportsmanship, but Michael did whatever it took to win. It's not just him. Alain Prost, going back to Senna days, Alain Prost, 4-time world champion, he had the same ruthless killer instinct. He just had his best friend Ballesteri running the FIA at the time, which gave him an awful lot of help. But Prost was a brilliant driver. He was the professor, but he also took Senna out of the race in Suzuka in, I want to say 1987. I might be wrong, 87, 88, around that time. And then the following year, because he did it because that secured Prost winning the World Championship. The following year, and what made it even worse about that, by the way, and let me tell you what was even worse. Not only did he take Senna out of the race, so Prost's car retired, Senna rejoined the race from the slip road, won that Grand Prix to win the title. Ballesteri disqualified him from the race because of the way he came back onto the track and rejoined the race to win the Grand Prix. Like, unbelievable. So Prost did that to Senna. The following year, Senna, also ruthless, at Suzuka, to make sure he won that year's World Driver Championship, he crashed into Alain Prost and took both bumps. He made sure that Prost wasn't restarting and rejoining the race. Facts. So what we're saying is, just to back Giuseppe up with her brilliant comments tonight, it is exactly true. Every good world champion has that killer instinct. Max has that. Lewis Hamilton had it, and he's probably still got it. I mean, I just mean in vintage Lewis. He's got that killer instinct. Schumacher. I mean, the greats have it. Trying to think if I'm missing anybody. I mean, I love Nigel Mansell, but did he have that? I think he did. I mean, Nigel Mansell had an edge, definitely. He had an edge. But if you ever go back and watch some of the old documentaries of some of the old seasons, yeah. I mean, I'd say it's a commonality amongst the. It's basically like the elite drivers to the god tier drivers. That is a commonality. They just have this ruthlessness, and they have to see, and they also not only do they have this ruthlessness, they have this ability for everyone else to just accept that's who they are, right? Like if you look how Max is treated by the FIA, the other drivers, and in general just within the Formula One community, he sort of goes, yeah, that's Max, right? And it's sort of accepted. That's what it is. Yeah, Gisette says, like Kobe, Mamba, mentality, get into your head. Exactly. It's elite athlete mentality. It's I call it the meta game. It's the meta game. It's not just about driving, it's the meta game, and they were brilliant at it. So yeah, I'm going back to, I've gone right off at a tangent. Hadjar. Yeah, so going back to Hadjar, I don't think we've got anything to worry about with Hadjar. But I tell you what I really feel about Hadjar is I'm very excited to see him in the Red Bull at Melbourne in 2 weeks' time, because I think he's not going to be too far off Max's pace. Jaman says Helmut Marko was just as bad as Horner with his instant judgments. Oh, exactly. Marko was just as bad. Definitely was. Ruthless. Right, next up, we've got a little bit, speaking of the FIA, we're going to talk a little bit about Dominicali. So, F1 CEO Stefano Dominicali says, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc are feeling confident after their conversation. I love this. Maybe they didn't want you to tell everyone how they're feeling, Stefano, but I'll tell you what's interesting about this in a minute. So, this is what... Dominicali says, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc have a certain kind of optimism when speaking to Stefano. During an interview with Sky Sports in Italy, F1 CEO Stefano Dominicali revealed the sentiments he'd received from both Hamilton and Leclerc ahead of the new season. What we've seen in these first few days certainly seems to indicate a much more competitive starting point than last year. And this is the bit that I find that he's saying, we know that he used to be team principal at Ferrari, by the way, everyone knows this, but he's also the CEO of F1. So, but then he goes on to say this, as an Italian, a fan, a former Ferrari man, one of their own, we need it. We all hope for it, but I think I see the right level of concentration. Talking to Charles and Lewis, they are confident, as we should be. I repeat, there'll be a journey of 24 races where the evolution compared to the past will be what is being found in the wind tunnel. What the drivers are finding in terms of drivability together with the engineers will lead us to a championship where those who remain focused without losing heart, if there is a problem at the beginning, we will be successful. I mean, hang on a minute. You're supposed to be the F1 CEO. Like, you're supposed to be the F1 CEO, Stefano. Like, I know you're a Ferrari guy. You were, what, we there, 2007 to 2014, running things. I get it. Like, we all know. But I'm not sure you can wax that lyrical and get that enthusiastic and that excited about Ferrari. Can you? I mean... It's these gushing comments about Ferrari and Tifosi. You've got to remember, you've got to be impartial, buddy. Yeah, and that's true, Gisette. Yes, Gisette says they finally got a decent car. Yeah, exactly. They have got a good car. Fred's done great. But it's just funny that the CEO of F1, as a Ferrari fan, you can tell he can't hide his excitement. Like, he did have some good years. He did win a World Driver Championship with Ferrari, didn't he? 2007, 2008, around that time. And then he was there till like 2013, I think. So yeah, you can just tell. You can just tell he's getting all excited about it. Peter Arnold says Stefano is being nice because the FIA are about to break Tifosi's hearts. Oh, can you imagine? It's because he knows that Toto Wolff is pushing for this turbo situation to be. I can't see what's wrong with their turbo. Like, I know I'm going back to the first story of tonight about the F1 teams being unhappy about Ferrari's turbo. And if you have just joined us tonight, you need to go back and watch on replay, because we were talking about, there are reports that Formula One teams, we're guessing Mercedes, are stirring the pot about Ferrari's amazing turbo. And actually, one more time on the amazing turbo.
Sounds good. And he even had to sort of back out of it a little bit because the cars in front of him were going so slowly. But yeah, a sweet start there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's good. It looks damn good. You know, their smaller turbo is working out. And yeah, and even if there is a compromise on top end power, the benefit of being able to jump. You saw Lewis Hamilton go from P9 to P1 by turn 1. If you can jump, look, that's in a crowd, right? If you can jump 3 or 4 places off the start, you would take that advantage over sort of a higher top speed. So yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I get why I get why Mercedes are trying to get rid of it. Yeah. Oh, Toto's a killer. He's scared. Well, speaking of ruthless people, Toto's bloody ruthless. But could you imagine, Peter, if somehow Toto, because I think we can all agree on some suspicious activity between Toto's relationship and the FIA. I mean, how bloody hard have the FIA tried to push that Toto's engine is perfectly legal? They tried to say right at the beginning of the complaints, nothing to see here. Ferrari then, and everyone else, and Audi, and all gathers momentum. Then Red Bull jump in as well. And then they go, we've done some secret checks. Don't worry, they passed the secret checks. Didn't give any details. And everyone's like, hang on a minute, what secret checks? What went on those secret checks? And then it came out, well, actually, we measured that engine at hot temperature, but it wasn't really hot. It was at 75 degrees. So it was like a tepid temperature so it was all good. So every step of the way, the FIA they've been really very, very friendly with Mercedes, signed off their engine in the first place. So you never know. I tell you this, if Mercedes do spearhead this complaint about Ferrari's turbo, what is the grounds of the complaint? They've made a smaller turbo, not a larger turbo. The largest turbo on the grid has been made by Audi. So Ferrari come up with a smaller turbo that spools up quicker, that gives them a better advantage of getting away off the start. And it's not even a secret. Fred Vasseur told everybody about this a year ago, and they all shot him down. So it's not like they've done anything untoward. I don't know what grounds Toto Wolff has got for a complaint, apart from, their car's faster than ours. That's not a ground for a complaint, is it? That just isn't a ground for a complaint. Oh, Gisette, brilliant. Another super chat. Thank you so much. Gisette says Toto told the FIA they owe him for 2021. That's true. Well, the thing about that was, though, they owe Lewis more than Toto, don't they? Because it was Lewis's driver championship that was robbed. And that's what I think is awful. And the problem is, no one remembers the Constructors' Championship. People only remember the Drivers' Championship. It's true. And thank you so much, Gisette, for your super chat. Brilliant, brilliant comments as well. Brilliant points. But yeah, no one remembers the Constructors, really. Everyone remembers the Drivers' Championships. So yeah, I do think that from that point of view, 2021, the FIA owe Lewis Hamilton. But do I see any payback for Lewis? No. If anything, I I think Lewis still sometimes gets the shitty end of the stick. I know, controversial. Yeah, maybe last year. Was it Mexico? Yeah, Mexico, when everyone went off track. Lewis goes off track, gets a 10-second penalty. Max goes completely off piste, rejoins the track, doesn't gain a place, but manages to retain a place. It's like a whole load of bollocks. What a load of bollocks. But yeah, there's a lot of issues on that. Jaman says Toto just got the FIA to test the engines at only 130 degrees, still well below full operating temperatures. I mean, I thought operating temperatures was about 130 degrees, isn't it? I think that's. I mean, I don't know. I thought that's what the point, because that's what they've agreed. I think for August is they will measure at 135 degrees. Is it? Oh, well, Tipsy Jack's made an interesting point, because I always pull people up on this. That particular race in Abu Dhabi was a shambles, but what Tipsy Jack is saying, Lewis didn't lose the championship from that race. He lost it with those DNFs. Yeah, so obviously the season is 24 races. I think back then it was 22. But yeah, it's it's a bitter pill to swallow when there's a moment, right? Do you know what I mean, Tipsy Jack? When there's a moment that's sort of where there's an unjust moment, that unjust moment does decide it in that moment in time, is what I'm saying. It's the final moment of the season, really. You know, that is a hard pill to swallow. Gazetta says Lewis is always held to a different level. I mean, he's the GOAT. You cannot take away Lewis his achievements. Like he's won 7 world titles, and I think the thing with Lewis is, like, people forget just what a force he is, what a force of nature he is. To win 7 world titles, and it could have been 8 when he was, to be honest, his first season was a bit of a robbery as well. Like, people don't talk about that enough. Him and Alonso at McLaren, Hamilton's rookie season, they nerfed him a little bit. Ron Dennis nerfed him a little bit. You know, Fernando was unhappy with how quick Lewis actually was. Yeah, and actually, that championship should have gone to Lewis, and it didn't go to Fernando either. It went to Kimi Raikkonen, because those two were falling out between themselves, and Ron Dennis just couldn't manage that situation effectively. So that was one that could have gone to Lewis as well. Gazetta says, took Lewis 5 years to recover, but he's back. Yeah, he's back, baby. This is his best chance, Gazetta. This is it now. From what we can see, Ferrari are in great shape. Good car, good power unit. Drivers have got smiles on the face. So yeah, I think if it's ever going to be hammer time, this is it. This year is looking like it could be it. And by the way, my final story of tonight is actually quite a nice one for Ferrari, but it is also slightly amusing. So Ferrari had to pay a massive bonus to their employees. Now, bear with me. I don't know whether this is going to be for the Ferrari Formula One team as well, but let me just tell you very quickly, because it's a good news story for Ferrari to finish on. So, employees of Ferrari are set to receive a bonus of €14,900 each after enjoying a very profitable period. So, Ferrari made €80 million more this year than last year, made profits of 1.6 billion. And so they've decided to give all of their employees nearly €15,000. Only provided that you work in Italy. So any Ferrari employees that don't work in Italy, you ain't getting nothing. But if you work in Italy and you're an Italian employee of Ferrari, you're getting a nice €15,000 bonus. And the reason why I'm linking this into the Formula One team is because of this. Ferrari's production of its road car models is continuing. 20 new vehicles are expected by the end of 2030. Ferrari are going to launch 20 new vehicles by the end of 2030. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is, one, I thought it was funny that it's only the Italian employees who are getting basically just shy of 15,000 euros each for their bonus. But it comes back to, I wanted to link it into one of my favourite quotes from Enzo Ferrari. Win on Sunday, they buy on Monday. Well, if Ferrari are launching 20 new vehicles between now and 2030, I think Ferrari Formula One team at the pinnacle of motorsport need to get back on top, don't they? They've got to push for it. And if Ferrari do become world champions again, I think it's going to be brilliant for their brand, and I think it'll be brilliant for their road cars, and I think we will see them leverage that championship winning car, that championship winning team and driver all over the place, and that's what I think. Gazetta says signing Lewis brought them the profit. Could you imagine? Do you know what, Gazetta? Funny you should say that. I did see that even though Lewis is costing them 70 million a year or whatever it is, in merch alone he's probably paid for himself. Like, he's not actually going to be a real cost to the team. Lewis Hamilton has got, I think it's 40 or 50 million followers on his social media platforms. I think 40 million just on Instagram alone. The second most followed driver in Formula One is Charles Leclerc, and he's only got 25 million, half as many as Lewis. Like, that, you know, that's a lot of influence, right, in the game. Lewis Hamilton, and if he won an 8th world title, could you imagine the Lewis mania? It would be awesome. It would be awesome. Dolly says, is that why Aston Martin sold its naming rights? The same but opposite. Well, you know what? I know what you're talking about now. I thought that Lawrence Stroll had rebought the naming rights for like 50 million or something. And so, yeah, I mean, cost me $75 for a cap, just that says. Yeah, I mean, I'm not, look, the business of naming rights, there's a lot, I think there's a lot of value in your name. I would never, like Aston Martin as a brand name, it's always going to be good, isn't it? And, Gazette says Lewis is one of the few drivers known in the US. Yeah, but Gazette, is that because he's mates with Jay-Z and Beyonce and all of that stuff? Has he done a lot of talk shows? Yeah, I mean, I think as well, you got to remember Lewis Hamilton, what he's done for black people in motorsport. Like, you know, it's incredible. Like, Lewis, it shouldn't be that way, that race is even a conversation in it, but he has done a lot. Like, you know, he's Lewis Hamilton is the GOAT. He is the GOAT. Selvin says Lewis wins at Monza is going to be epic as well. Silverson going to be historic. Oh, Lewis wins in front of the Tifosi. Yeah, it'd be amazing scenes. Crackeye, interesting with Hamilton because the profit is there, but also the car looks very decent. So it'd be interesting to see how much the car is based around his feedback and how much Loic Serra knows about Lewis. And also, Tipsy Jack says Lewis is known to NASCAR and IndyCar fans as well. Well, good points, both of you guys. Serra's building a car, but by all accounts, one of the big changes is that Lewis has been, his DNA, as he calls it, his DNA is all over this car. So if there is a marked improvement in the 26 car over the 25 car, Lewis is a part of that. Without a doubt, Lewis is a part of it. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yes, thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday night. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for all your super chats, Gazette. Very much appreciated. Very brilliant comments as well. Thank you so much for being a big part of the show. And everyone else in the chat as well. Thank you, Drop Tune. Thank you, Gazette. Thank you, Aman, Tipsy Jack, Dawley, and everyone else. If I've missed anyone, I'm sorry, but you're all brilliant. Thank you for being a part of this community. Do smash a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Don't forget, back tomorrow, 7:30 GMT, same time as always for more F1 news. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and I will see you all tomorrow. Ta-ta.